Okay, so we just finished off our cabin model, and now it is time to start diving into some textures, because we cannot really go on without the unwrapping, because the textures will actually affect how we are doing our model. So we are going to start with our wood texture, and this will be basically our base wood texture, and we will be using this also as a base for our bark and for any other textures that are made out of wood. So we really want to nail this one down and get it perfect, and then using this one we can very quickly turn it into different textures, because that's the power of Substance Designer, which will be the program in which we will be making this texture. So I got a few references, and this is probably the main reference that I want to follow. So I quite like the look. It's like just some old planks. It has some nice nails in them, but they're not like proper nails. They're just like some little tips and everything from a nail gun. And for the rest, it has a nice part of colorization. It has some streaks and everything on here. And of course, it has the simple wood that we are so familiar with. So like the nice wood patterns, and over here the graininess, which is something that we can, of course, also implement this. And there's some higher streaks. So yeah, here's just another version of it. Here is it a bit more in context, where you can see it around what looks like sort of like a cabin. So that's more what we are going for. Now I got some other references also for like some rougher wood, and it's good to have these things to kind of like combine a few different references, just to make things a bit more interesting and unique. In here you have like the streaks and everything, but of course we need to be careful that we do not have unlogic damages in this wood just because we see it in some different wood. So for example, this wood would not often get like these kind of square chips in here like you have here. It looks like these are because this wood was chopped or something in that direction. I'm not completely sure, but in any way, you probably won't see that on planks, stuff like that. So yeah, here it's some more to look at the graininess. I quite like this one. It also has something quite interesting. So we might follow this one a little bit for the grain, mostly, and then combine it with the rest. And yeah, of course, these ones were, if we were going for log cabin, they are still in here, because I wasn't sure yet if we were going for logs or if we were going for just planks. So that's why they're in here. Here are some more planks, some more close-ups, which is quite nice, as you can see here. So we can really get a proper look at how, for example, the joints and everything work. This is just a cool image where they are removing the bark and everything. And yeah, here's another one, which is just showing some wood. So that's basically it for the reference. I am just going to move this over, and we can close this folder. And now here we are in Substance Designer. So in Substance Designer, we will go from the start. So when you open it up, this is what you will get. And what we will need to do is we will need to make a new scene. Now in this scene, because this is Unreal, we will be using the metallic roughness method. You also have the specular glossiness method, which is used by CryEngine, which can be used in Unity, and I'm sure in a bunch of other programs. But since we are in Unreal, we will be focusing on metallic and roughness. So just click on physically based metallic roughness. In the graph name, we are going to call this, probably start with like wood planks base. There we go. Size mode can be absolute. The width, we want to set this to a 2K texture, so we want to always make it nice and big. And then we can always, if we need to, lower it down. But this is a showcase piece. It's like an example piece, so you probably do not need to lower it down for like game purposes. But you can if you make this for a game, of course. So just press OK. Now you get your 3D view and your 2D view here. What I'm going to do is something that most people do not do, is I'm actually going to close my 3D view, because I like to preview my textures in Marmoset Toolbag. The reason for this is because that gives me a bit more control over the lighting and everything. I'm a bit more familiar with it, and it just gives me more accurate and faster result, I find. So that's why I just like to use, and also it saves a lot of UI in here. So that's why I like to use my 2D view. I have my library here. You can just move all your windows around as you want. In my case, this is how I set up my windows. I often have my library quite big, my 2D view next to it. Up here I have my Explorer, the parameters, which will show all the settings, and of course the graph. Now, before we do anything, what I want to do is I actually want to save my package. And in our project folder, I probably want to go into textures and save it here and call this in a folder called wood, and then it still uses the name wood planks base. So we can just press save. And now we can very quickly just keep saving it. Okay, so next thing is we have a base color, we have a normal, a roughness, metallic, a height. Next one is we need to right click, add a node, and add an, oh, you cannot see it, it's below my window, here you go. Add an output. And for this output I want to call this AO, so ambient occlusion. And then down here in add items, we just want to go into the add items and we want to add in the usage, a ambient occlusion, like this. And for now that's probably all we need. Now the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to construct the actual height map of our wood. So that's something I want to start with. Now for the height map, we have, we probably do 2 stages. We have the planks and we have the actual grains. Because the grains are always a bit of the more tricky one to make, I want to start with those. And then later on we can add the planks and everything. So let's just have a look actually at this. So we are going to make it in multiple stages. We are going to have like the very strong grains. No, you know what? We are going to have the soft grains and everything that you can slightly see here. Then have the more stronger lines in here. Then have the little knobs and everything in here. And yeah, I think that is a good starting point. So I'm just going to move this over again. Now for the grains, many people have many different ways on how they do this. In my case, what I want to do is to start with the grains is just to get like a basic feeling for it. So if we go and into our noises, get a Berlin noise. Here it is. There we go. So here we have Berlin noise. And now let's not yet play with the scale. First of all, what we want to do is we want to go in and add a transform. So by the way I do this, I just press space and then I start typing. So like this is how I will get most of my notes because it's a lot faster. I'm just going to add a transform 2D to this. Now with the transform 2D, I want to just really scale this up like super big. Actually, maybe it's easier to just here in the stretch set the width to be probably like 1000 and apply the width, or even more. So just press apply until you get streaks like this. And now that we have the streaks, what we can do is we can just tile everything. So I'm going to tile this like 1 to 8 or something. Here we go. So now you get like a bunch of these quite big streaks, but it's a start to start with. So maybe even make it 2, 5, 6. I like to keep it even numbers. There you go. So now we get like this bunch of, and you can even in this order, you can like change the streaks and everything just to get it the way you want. Now the next thing that we want to do is we actually want to deform these streaks to go around whatever we are going to place in here. And so for that placement, it's just already like a base. So it does not need to be too precise yet, but we want to go into patterns and we want to have like a splatter node that just shows where that we want to have all these little bits and bobs and everything. And later on we will of course need to go back because based upon where the planks are, we might need to cut some stuff off and everything. So I am gonna go in and I think I want to go with the good old, well actually I think I want to do a splatter circular because that one often gives me a better result. And now in the pattern we want to set this to be probably like a disk. Yeah, I think disk. So the thing I'm thinking about is I want to give it some smoothness to it. So that's why I'm thinking if we would blur it after, or if we would just make it a disk and change there. I think for now a disk is fine. So I'm just going rattling on. So we want to set the pattern amount quite a bit bigger. We do not need to change the random or anything, but what we do want to do is we want to go down here. And for a radius, we can just set the radius to be like quite big and a radius random. And what this will do is it will just give us like these random little bits and everything. And you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I do not want to have it intersecting. So I might just want to try out and pick a shape splatterer. I just want to try this out. That's the beauty of Substance. You can just very quickly try out some new stuff. And even though I have not done it this way before, you never know what comes out of it. So I hope you guys don't mind if I also experiment while doing this, because we might just get way better results. So in the shape splatter, if you just go down, we always need to turn off the auto height scale, because that one always tends to mess things up a little bit. There we go. So shape splatter. For the amounts, of course, this is way too much, but the scale is pretty much correct. I'm going to set this to be maybe, you know what, I'm going to leave this to 15. And then give it like a random scale, something like this. I do want to make it like a little bit warped and everything, so I will probably go into that later on. But for now, I just want to get like something in here. Let's give it a random position. And here you go. So with what the shape splatter does is it actually tries to avoid overlapping for you quite a bit. And using this, we can just avoid that, and later on we can mask out whatever we missed. So as you can see here, so offset, out of bounds options. Now that's fine. Rotation random wouldn't really matter, because of course it's they're circles, but later on we will have some more oval ones and everything. We can just skip the height ones, pretty much. We might be, let's just skip the height ones for now. And here we go. The mask random is the one I was really looking for. So here we have the mask random, so we can just change the amount of little dots that we want. So we want to have only like a few. So probably if you look at this, it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Of course, these planks will be quite a bit tight, so I think this is a nice amount for us to start with. Yeah, here I quite like this. So having this one done, next thing that we want to do is we just want to go down here, and in our patron input number, we want to set it to, let's say, 3 inputs. Now we have this one, or actually, you know what? No, we want to set it to 2 because we do not really need that many. So let's set it to 2. Now we have the nice circular one. And then what I want to do is, in the circular one, I'm going to copy it over and then go back to the first one. And I just want to have a directional warp in here, just to give it like a little bit of a imperfection, because right now it's too perfect. So using the warp, if we plug in a Perlin noise into this, what we can do is we can just set the scale to be like quite a bit higher. You can choose your warp angle if you want, but just set the intensity quite high, and then like with the scale on like 6 or 7, what it will do is it will just make a little bit of an imperfect circle for us. Now having that done, we have another over here, another shape. And in this shape, if we just set the scale of the X down a bit, it will become a little bit more oval. And then if we just copy over our directional warps again, plug this in here. And in this case, for example, change the angle a little bit so that it's a bit different. There we go. And now we have now we have a round one and an oval one. So let's plug this one into Patron 2. And what this will do is it will randomly pick one of these. So these are oval, these are round. So like that we can have just some extra variation in there, just a little bit. And we also of course have the scale variation and everything. So we can just get rid of the original one, because this one works way better in the end. Okay. Next thing is I just want to already throw in a little blur, high quality grayscale in here. And I want to plug in my height into this. Set the quality all the way to 1 and just lower down the intensity. And just make it quite a bit blurry, because remember, these ones will not be the final ones. It will be like a mask of where our lines will warp around it. So having this blurry mask over here. Now if we go back into our very top one and add another blend to this. Oh, not a blend, sorry. I mean a directional warp to this. And now with the directional warp, if we go ahead and turn on the intensity or plug our mask into the intensity and then set the warp angle to be up, what you can see is it will very easily warp around our meshes, just like this. And of course you can set the intensity, so we only want to have it like a little bit of warping, but we do want to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to go in and increase the blur, then add another levels around it, and then having our directional warp node selected, play around with the levels to see if we can like get it to deform, but not too much, of course. We do not want to get like harsh lines like you get over here. We just want to have it like softly deform around it. Now, another thing I might want to do actually is I might just want to go in and let's have a look. This is a bit tricky because of a random rotation, but I want to try and throw in 2 transforms in here. And while this is selected, I want to just Control Shift and drag this transform to see how, if we can make all of them stretch out quite a bit more. Yeah, so we do get like that rotation, so that probably will not, yeah, so over here it will look fine, but it does not look correct on every instance, which is too bad. So we might want to just play around with the rotation. Here we go. So we have the random rotation. So like this would actually work for a mask. Now I think about it. Yeah, so this would actually work quite a bit better. And just have it like as a masker. You can even almost use this as like a base, but we want to give it a bit more of a custom design. So let's turn on the intensity a little bit. And now we have like these warps going around this. So I think this is actually a good starting point to start with. Now, another thing that I want to do is all these warps are pointing up, which is not very realistic because in here some warps go down, some go around it, stuff like that. So another thing that I want to do is, although you know what, we might want to try and get like this where it goes up and around. So on both occasions, I am just going to try that out and see if I can have a direction warp with just the exact opposite. And let's see what happens if we like blend this, and I'm not even sure what blending mode we are going to pick. Yeah, so it will just show up a bit different. So in that case, what we can do is, I'm going to do this in 2 stages. One is going to be that I'm actually going to go in and copy over probably these 3 nodes. So let's copy those over. And for this one, we just want to set a random mask a bit higher so that so it does not have as many. Where are you? Over here. So you know what? No, I'm going to do this a bit different because we do not want to have any overlapping. I want to pick a Perlin noise, set it on the big scale, and plug this into our mask random. And now if we go all the way down, and then in our mask random map multiplier, we can actually turn that all the way up. And now, for some of you might have guessed it, if we now just invert this mask random, plug it into here, and turn this one up. It's quite a bit of scrolling. Turn this one all the way up. What we should get is that they should have been on different locations actually. Maybe it's because the Perlin noise is not as precise, so I might want to get something a bit stronger. You know what, I'm going to get the grunge. I'm going to try it out with this one. And just like boost up the contrast to be quite a bit more, something like this. Yeah, let's try that out. So let's throw this into a mask random. So we have this one, and now we have this one. There we go. So that's what I was more looking for. Okay, so now we have these 2 nodes over here. So this one is now in directional, and now we can just add another directional. Actually, you know what? We can copy over this old one, because it has all our settings, set the warp angle to down, and then plug in our second level. So now we have this one, and now we have this one on top. So now you get like different directions that the warping is going on. Now another one that you want to do is you want to have the warping going around it. And I had like an idea for that 1 minute ago, but I already forgot what I was going to try out, of course. Oh no, wait, I know what I was going to do. I was going to add another direction warp. And for this one, we probably only want to have this on, let's say, the bottom ones, these ones. So on this one, if we just have another direction warp here, and we want to move this up, and let's match the scaling to be 8.3, just to have them the same, and then throw in a transform in here in a blank page, plug in our levels in here, plug it into our directional warp, and then with our levels, we can like move our warps up, which will give us this effect, almost like little mouths, that it is, as you can see, sometimes it's warping down, sometimes it's warping up. Yeah, I think that will be nice. Something we might actually even do, just for some more variation, is we might want to just change this up and add a levels in between here. Boost up the levels all the way down until we only have like a few left, something like this. And we might want to, I'm going to make this fully white. And the reason for this is because I want to add another blur, just to give it some proper blurring. So now it's blurred again. And in this case, plug this one in here. And is that still working correctly? Oh no, wait. Of course, for this one, we probably need to move the angle down. And there we go. I think that is in the correct location. Yeah, looks like it. So now we have, okay, so this is pretty cool. So because these are not in all of them, what we get is we get these ones that are going up. We get these ones that are going down. And then we get a few that are just going around. Not all of them, although it might even be a little bit less than in here. So I might just play around with the levels a bit more and just get even fewer pieces out of this. There we go. So now we only have like a few warping up, but we still have some that are only going around at the top. And the last thing I want to do is I actually want to make these a little bit bigger. So I know it's a bit of a hassle, but let's throw another levels after a blur to plug in here. Ooh, a bit too big. There we go. So now we have like some different warping and everything going around here. So that's like a good base to start with. Now, of course, we want to make this not as straight and everything. So let's add some more variation. But first, save our scene.